everybody. Welcome to Holiday Movie Mania, what it takes to make a television holiday hit. I am Lonnie Love. I will be your host for tonight's event. I'm so excited because on behalf of the Television Academy, thank you to the Activities Committee, as well as the event production and marketing staff that worked really hard. And we're looking forward to a great evening as we take a behind-the-scenes look with actors and creators of heartwarming holiday treasures. We will learn what goes into making these films for the most wonderful time of the year. You see, I even put a little decoration here. Well, let's take a look at the hits we'll be discussing tonight. Let's go.
Dear Christmas, this is Natalie Morgan. I'll be live streaming from my childhood home.
November 27th.
What's the new special episode going to be about?
True love at Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, hello. Keep running into this guy I went to middle school with.
I'll see you tomorrow.
You sound pretty sure of that.
Pretty sure.
Melissa Joan Hart, Jason Priestley, and Ed Begley Jr.
This is the best Christmas ever.
Dear Christmas premieres Friday, November 27th at 8. Part of It's a Wonderful Lifetime 24/7 holiday movies all season long.
Must be Hank. Heath, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Why did you come here to work?
Some of us just like being here. Not everyone needs more.
Oh, hey.
I'll use the one down the hall.
I'm almost.
Sorry, it's this way.
Moving to New York. I thought I was choosing greener pastures when I left Harmony Springs.
Sometimes you just have to find a way to farm the pastures you already have.
It comes at different times in different ways. You can't anticipate it, but if we find it, we better hold on to it.
I'm here.
Every doctor has that one patient that they'll always remember.
This isn't a war zone, but you will take some friendly fire.
You say I need to get my head examined?
Do you?
Probably.
Guess I'm used to having an exit strategy.
You okay?
It's a little hard around the holidays.
I don't know how you found her.
Should have told you before.
Holly Robinson Peete and Adrian Holmes.
Sometimes you don't know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory.
You're like a Christmas miracle.
The Christmas Doctor premieres Sunday, November 15th at 10. Only on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries.
3 wonderful movies. Man, you know what? Let me introduce our panel tonight. The first woman, she doesn't need any introduction. Melissa Joan Hart, actress, director, and producer. Dear Christmas and Feliz Navidad on Lifetime. Oh, I want to know what it's like to kiss Jason Priestley. Oh, you're so good. Next, we have Jake Elgren, producer, director, and writer, dashing in December on Paramount Television. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Lonnie?
I'm good. We're going to talk tonight, okay? All right. And next is the one and only, and she's my girlfriend, Holly Robinson Peete, actress, producer, and philanthropist, the Christmas Doctor on Hallmark Channel. Due to a last-minute unforeseen circumstance, David Talbert could not join us tonight, but he does give his regards, and he says, please watch his movie, Jingle Jangle, on Netflix. How you doing, Holly?
I'm doing good, Lonnie. I'm really happy to be here. Happy to see everybody. Excited to talk about Christmas movies.
Well, thank all 3 of you for taking time out of your busy schedule. So let's get right to it. All right. The first thing is congratulations on wonderful movies. We need this right now in this time that we're going through, especially with this year. The first question I would like to ask each of you is, what is your attraction to the genre of making a holiday movie? So starting with you, Melissa.
Oh gosh, it's kind of a long story, but I did a movie in 1986 called Christmas Snow, and that was my first Christmas movie with Sid Caesar and Katherine Hellman. And then, like 17 years later, I made one with Mario Lopez called Holiday in Handcuffs. And I think from there, it was sort of like these Christmas movies kind of became a thing. Like, first they were few and far between, and then now they're just rolling out like crazy, and it's become its own genre. And I love doing them because it makes my mother-in-law happy, mainly, I think. But it's great fun. I get to produce, I get to direct, and so it gives me this creative control over the projects, and people, they're just so well received.
Mm-hmm. That's true. How about you, Jake? What is it about holiday movies that made you want to make one?
I grew up on Christmas. I mean, I'm from a big Texas family, and we celebrate Christmas like it's, it's the most important day of the year for sure around here. And I don't know. I remember my dad taking me to the theater when I was a kid, taking me to see Home Alone, and just that having a huge impact on me, not just from a Christmas perspective, but from a cinematic perspective as well. And I still, to this day, when we have it, obviously not this year because of the circumstances, but like here in Austin, they do like a Alamo Draft House Ladies Night. So me and my mom and my sisters, we all go do Ladies Night at the Draft House and see Love Actually. And they do like a sing along. It's a lot of fun. I even have Love Actually tattooed on my arm. So that's my love for Christmas right there.
Fantastic. Holly, what about you? Your attraction to a Christmas movie, holiday movie?
Well, I don't have any Christmas tattoos yet, but that's giving me an idea. The content, Lonnie, just the content, the uplifting content. And, when your name is Holly, hello, what else am I supposed to do? But I think for me, I really wanted to be part of, as I go into the next, chapter, whatever it is of my career, I wanted to be part of a family, and I wanted to be part of a genre of movies. Obsessed with Christmas. And it just is something like the other panelists. It's just something that I love. We all love Christmas. And like you said before, right now, the content is really needed. The feelings of joy and positivity and togetherness, something we need right now. So it's great to be part of this genre.
Well, that's fantastic. I just want to ask, and anyone can answer, how hard is it to get a Christmas movie made at a network? I mean, is it really hard? What do you say? What do you do? Do you bring your own ideas? Does someone come to you? Let the listeners out there know.
For me, it's a little bit of all that. I mean, I've been working with Lifetime for so long. We've done so many of these that we have a rolling kind of, not a contract, but like an understanding that I'm going to direct one, I'm going to star in one. And like this year, because of COVID, really, I got to produce an extra one because we had a bubble of people up and running and doing these movies. And so we were able to just keep going and give them more content. And so for me, for that, so for example, Feliz Navidad came to me because Mario wanted me, we had worked together on 2 other Christmas movies, and he wanted my mother to produce, my mother's my producing partner, and he wanted me to direct. So I was able to work on that one as well as the 2 I was going to do for Lifetime as well. But then, like when the third one came around, we needed a script. So we actively searched for a script for which was Once Upon a Main Street, is the one we did with Vanessa Lachey and Ryan McPartlin. And so, for me, it's always every project is different in how it comes about.
Jake, your movie was really a different type of Christmas movie. How did you get that? How did you make that happen?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I've done a number of movies for Lifetime as well, Christmas movies, and one for Hallmark as well. And when Dashing came about, we were actually, pitched that as a heterosexual idea on a ranch, and then it gave birth to the possibility that some people were looking and considering. All the networks collectively, it seemed that at the same time, this became a possibility in their minds. Our EP, who is fantastic and used to actually be with A&E, moved over to Viacom, and she was looking for a Christmas project, and she had heard of the script, and so it ended up there, and it was just a magical little stroke of luck that they decided to make their first original feature, a Christmas movie. So and they, we embraced the idea of I've done so many of these, like, how can we do this in a way that still feels true to the this formula that we love and these kinds of movies that we love, but also make it LGBTQ friendly or focused. So.
Right. Great job. Now, Holly, you know, Hallmark for a long time, let's be real, everybody. It wasn't a lot of us on Hallmark Channel, especially during the Christmas time. How did you get Hallmark to get you a Christmas movie?
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I started making Christmas movies with Hallmark Channel 5 years ago, and now I'm on my eighth one. And they definitely have, I think, with no disrespect to any of the other networks, but I think Hallmark Channel has sort of the platinum standard and of these movies are really plugged into this genre in a way that was pretty remarkable. When I first did my first Christmas movie, I did notice that there was a little lack of color on the camera, and as I started to do more and more, what I love is the trajectory of the network, where we're going now, right? That part really makes me happy to look back and go, okay, I started doing my first movie 5 years ago, compared to where are we now with Tamara and Shirley Ralph and some of these other people that I love that are my contemporaries and yours too, that are actually making great Christmas content right now. So I'm extremely happy to see more people of color. The Christmas Doctor is a movie I'm super proud of because we have Black leads in the 1 and 2 positions and in supporting positions. And we just want to, see flavor. We love Christmas too. And I love the fact that, we do. We love it. Traditionally even be.
Uh-oh, Holly. You got that Teddy Riley Wi-Fi, Holly. She frozen. So as she comes back to us, I'm going to move on because I want to ask what she was saying was some place I was headed, which was we've come a long way with representation in holiday movies. Where do you see we're headed next, Melissa?
I think it's just starting. I mean, I know Lifetime has done a great job this year of, I think they have, I believe it's an Indian American family. They have, with Feliz Navidad that I directed, it's a Mexican American family. And so we bring a lot of those traditions to the movie. It's all about making the tamales, and we talk about La Posadas, which we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't do a scene about La Posadas, which I wish we had, because it would have been a huge production thing. But I think that now the representation is there. Now it just needs to grow, and it needs to incorporate everyone, because everyone celebrates Christmas and everybody celebrates all different holidays. We need to show all the holidays, and I think Holly was right in saying that Hallmark, really is the gold standard. They really do own this. I mean, everyone that has their, I wear my, they all wear the T-shirts or the socks that are like, I'm watching Hallmark. So a lot of time I go to these Christmas cons and I'm the only one that's like, I'm Lifetime. I'm a Lifetime girl. I mean, I haven't seen Hallmark, but I'm a Lifetime girl. But I think that Lifetime wasn't willing to compete in the beginning, and now they are. So they're trying. But now you've got Netflix, and I think Fox is now getting into the business, and like Hulu, like everybody's now getting into the Christmas business because it's huge business, as Hallmark was able to prove. So I think that now it's such a genre, it's insane.
Yeah. Welcome back, Holly.
Hey. I had to feed my reindeer.
Wi-Fi.
Tell Rodney P to stop being cheap and pay the Wi-Fi, please.
Rodney, I tell you, and Jay, building on what Melissa was saying, Holly, just so you know, we were heading in the direction that you were saying, like how we're headed with representation. Jake, in the LGBTQ space, where do you see this headed? Because your movie was the first that I believe I've seen as a holiday movie that had a LGBTQ theme to it.
Yeah, actually there's a handful this year. So Hulu ended up releasing the Kristen Stewart Happiest Season, which is a in holiday romance. And then my buddy Jonathan Bennett starred in the Christmas House for Hallmark, which was one of the storylines, a family storyline that was LGBTQ. And then Lifetime did their first LGBTQ film, The Christmas Setup, starring Fran Drescher. So there's been a few this year. We were actually really surprised because we were talking about it when we were in Utah filming the movie. This news was coming out about these other movies being cast, and it was like, whoa, we're we're not the first. We're now one of the first. So it was, but it was exciting. That kind of energy was really exciting, and you know, to be able to reach out to the people I know who worked on these other movies, you know, and to say congratulations and how happy I am to see this happening.
And what a difference a year makes, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think it's a silver lining that we're seeing this year. It's coming out right now. It's kind of blossoming in the form of these Christmas movies. That representation is not something that we just deserve, but something we have to demand. And I think that it's a beautiful thing that we're, you know, all able to be here tonight and talk about something so special in a year that's been really, really difficult.
Definitely. I'm going to demand a plus size girl Christmas movie. Okay. I'm just
yeah, I would be down. I've got a few in supporting roles, but not starring.
Okay. Let's make it happen. Okay?
It's a very long Christmas. Let's do it.
Lonnie, you gonna star in it?
Yes.
Come star in it, Lonnie? You gonna be the girl? All right. Well.
I love it. Let's do it.
I'm coming up with titles. It's
Can
Melissa,
I direct? I'll direct.
Lonnie,
I'll direct it.
Melissa, Lonnie, Holly, and Mistletoe, and Holly Robinson Pete. That's the title right there.
I love it. Already done, you know. But while we're talking about, you know, representation, let's talk about the casting process that you all went through with your movies. Can we talk about that a little bit? Anybody that wants to jump in?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in before my internet goes out. I am so absolutely thrilled with being able to be behind the scenes. And I think we all are content creators here. And that's what I really love about being part of this genre. It's not just you're a hired hand, you've got your script and you go in front of the camera, but you're also part of the content, the creativity. I know with the Hallmark movies, you know, the background, the wardrobe, everything is watched very particularly. And the content and the scripts are very key. For The Christmas Doctor, what I love about this movie is the script was really strong, and the casting process is really interesting because being an executive producer, I had a little to do with it. And my husband's like, that's why you cast that fine chocolate Adrian Holmes. He is fine. And I did have a little bit to do with that. I'm just saying, but casting some of the other parts, you know, we were able to cast some, you know, some of the couples were interracial. Some of the couples were, there's all kinds of inclusion and diversity that you can do as an executive producer. And I found that was to be very gratifying at this point in my career to be able to have a say with that. But the casting part is awesome. And when you're an actor, you always feel some kind of way, right, Melissa, when you're casting someone because you remember being in those rooms. And
it can be awful in a way. Like, you know, you want
so
somebody, but the network doesn't, or you think they're going to want to do it and then they don't respond. And you're like, oh, I thought you know, but then also sometimes people come out and do favors for you, you know, that you didn't expect to be a part of something. So it can be really, really exciting.
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
What about you, Jake? How was that casting process? We had a very interesting casting process on you know, Dashing in December. When we walked in the door with the project, I was pretty insistent on only considering LGBTQ plus actors for these two lead male roles. And fortunately, everybody at Viacom was 100% on board with that. They were like, let's not even like debate. Like, let's just, we're with you. We're down. Let's do it. But it gets interesting because with script writing, because I'm a writer as well, and I wrote the script. We have also a Black female lead in the film, and as well as a Latin. Well, one of our leads ended up being Latinx as well, but also a supporting character who's Latinx. And when I was writing the script, I was actually asked to take the ethnicity out. So it's very interesting because, and it was more so like, hey, and this wasn't by Viacom, this was just in general when we were developing the script. because you don't want to specify, like, any person of any color can play any kind of role, right? So it's like, if you specify this one, then are you putting this person in the box because, you know, they're a person of color? So it was really interesting because, but it was really funny because when we were getting ready to cast, I walked in the door saying, so I always wanted Blake to be a Black woman. Can we consider? And they were like, well, yes, we can, you know? So it was like, it was one of those beautiful like things where they were still really in support of that inclusivity that I wanted for the script. So we were just very blessed. And I know that's not always the case, but I think that we're kind of starting to see that now. And people are realizing this is the kind of representation that we need to see in these films. So that because we all love Christmas and we all celebrate Christmas. So let's all get in there and celebrate together, right?
Yeah, and it makes good business sense. It's a good business move. I mean, anytime you open your, the web of who you're reaching and your connectivity with different people and different genres of people, different races and religion. I mean, anytime you do that, you're going to have a better bottom line. I remember when we were making Christmas Doctor, and there was a line in the script talking about the 3 women in the movie all went to the same school. So I suggested, well, what if they were in the same sorority? And, last I checked, I hadn't seen a lot of Black female sororities in Christmas movies, or even a mention of it. So these are things that, it adds a little flavor to growing this genre that I think that network executives didn't really think about before. And just looking at this panel, it's just so great to see that this is happening.
Yeah. You know what also I like about the Christmas movies at times, the familiar faces that you get to see. Melissa, you with Jason Priestley. What was that like? Did you have to audition him for the kiss?
No. Actually, we weren't supposed to do the kiss. If you watch that movie, if you watch Dear Christmas, if you've seen it already, you might not have been aware of this. But if I tell you this and you go and see it, you'll be aware now. But we did it very COVID friendly. We rewrote that script to be COVID. The error. So we talk about these ornaments that he makes, these glass heart ornaments that are for the healthcare workers, and we have certain mentions like that. But the Easter egg in it all is that we have only 6 speaking acting parts in it. So speaking of casting, like Dear Christmas was a little tricky because there wasn't a lot of room for us to put, it was all mainly a family and a guy and a boss. And so, because I really wanted to work with Jason, I got to work with Jason. So he was like, on my wish list, and luckily Lifetime's wish list kind of matched up with mine. So we got Jason, but I've already worked with Mario Lopez numerous times. I couldn't do that again. I mean, I probably will someday, but not right now. But like, we were able to have my good friend Robin Givens play my boss, but that was like the only place that we could really and actually what's funny is a lot of the other like background and whatnot, she is in a podcast video with her boyfriend at the end of the movie, and her boyfriend is my stepdad. So it was so bizarre to watch him and Robin pretend to be a couple only because my stepdad's sitting there kind of awkwardly, like not an actor. But because of COVID, we brought in people that were already in our bubble. You'll see my mom walk by, who's the producer. You'll see her walk by, Sally, my sister-in-law, who's our wardrobe designer. You'll see like all these, like our crew. Our first AD is like asleep for half the movie on the couch because he plays my brother-in-law. But he's like just our AD, but we didn't want to bring anybody else in. So it's all this COVID-related casting.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty different shooting in the age of COVID. That was definitely different. Christmas Doctor, I was playing a frontline doctor in the middle of this pandemic, not in the movie, but it was happening in real time in Vancouver. And that was interesting. We did have a very interesting COVID protocol kissing scenario. So Adrian and I we had people standing over us, watching us to gargle with this like peroxide rinse that did not taste so
really
great. Yeah, and we every 10 minutes, if we were hugging or kissing, which we did several times, we had to gargle with this rinse. So we were minty fresh, but also I feel like my taste buds disappeared at one point. But we, there was a lot of that going on as far as you mentioned your pod and your bubble of people that are around you. And I was just blown away at how well so many of these crews, especially in Vancouver, handled this so that we could get back to work and create this content to have it ready in time for Christmas.
Yeah, the constant testing and the half hour hand washing and whatnot. We weren't supposed to kiss. The camera was supposed to drift off us, but we'd already been together for 3 weeks, close, like we're just in close proximity, every scene. And it was
if
like,
Mom was working, she would have had you kissing Jason Priestley. And she would have had
Well, they were like, the director was like, look, I'd really like to just stay on you guys for the kiss. Are you okay? Are you okay? All right, let's do this. I didn't realize it was going to be like, hey, but
I didn't mind
Everybody
it at all. Talking about locations and timelines, these movies are usually shot in July, which is surprising. Tell me, when were your movies shot, and what was the process like, Jake?
We shot Dashing in Utah in September. So it all happened. The post process was a whirlwind, getting this movie ready for its release. But it was a little. When the day we showed up, it was actually snowing in Utah. Strangely, we thought, this is actually lovely. We're going to be able to maybe shoot in some real snow. But of course, it was like really hot, and there were like fires 2 days later. So I don't know. But we had a fantastic snow team. Who comes in and they dress the set with snow, really, really powerful machines that just shoot this foam everywhere, and it looks pretty legit. So, it was exciting. I mean, I'm no stranger to the fake snow, though. I've done a number of these movies. I've moved snow blankets. I'm telling you right now, it's not a glamorous lifestyle like some people think, but.
Well, I think what's so interesting I was going to say what's so interesting is that this year we, as you mentioned, and God bless the post-production people because they had so much to deal with, but we were pushed up closer to our air dates because of COVID, because of the timing of it. So at least we were. I made 2 movies, The Christmas Doctor and Christmas in Evergreen. I made them back to back. Went up, quarantined for 2 weeks, and just shot them. Stayed up there for a couple months and just shot out these 2 movies back to back. And so when we were up there, it was starting to get a little bit chilly, but there were times when the weather was really, really warm. And the coat game in these movies. I don't know if you noticed, Lonnie, but like the coats and the coat styling,
scarves and hats,
the hat. It's a whole science. It's a whole genre in itself. And if once you're bundled in, to get unbundled and to rebundle and to make it match and continuity, it's a whole thing. So when it gets warm and you're hot, it's people can get a little funky. People can get a little funky around there. But I think it's pretty amazing. And normally we do shoot a little bit closer to August, September, but my 2 movies were shot October, November, and then they aired or late September, October, and aired November, December. So pretty quick turnaround.
Wow. What about you, Melissa? When did you shoot?
I've been lucky. So I know from a production standpoint that a lot of the budgets don't get approved until after the new year. So that's why they have to wait in order to get it all lined up. They have to wait until January. For me, we were supposed to do Feliz Navidad in March. Like I think March 20th was our start date. And of course, the whole world shut down on the 13th. So we just were in a holding pattern. We were waiting. And finally, because we were in Nevada and we were shooting in the Lake Tahoe area, we got the governor's approval, we got SAG's approval, and we were the first ones to get the DGA approval. And so we were already locked and loaded pretty much. We just needed a week of prep and we were in. So we started June 3rd. So it was hot, but it was Tahoe, it's mountain air. It wasn't that bad. By the time we did our next one, it was late July. So Dear Christmas we rolled into. That was late July and it was getting hot and we were shooting more in Reno. So it was a little hot, but I have never been as hot as I was. The first movie I ever directed, probably 2013, I was doing the SantaCon. I directed the SantaCon for Lifetime, and it was with Barry Watson and Wendy Williams, and we had this amazing cast. And I was so proud of that movie because it was my first one I directed, but we had this great cast. And I'll never forget, me and Jaleel White are snuggled up on a couch. I'm in leather pants. He's in like a sweater. We're by a fire in a 2-3-story walk up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, with the windows with garbage bags over them, no AC in the whole house, and it's July. And I have never been as hot as I was that day. We had to take ice packs and flip them from the crew to the actors and back. Touch-ups between every take, dripping wet. I mean, we decided it was probably about 105, like a Bikram sauna in there. Like we were, I mean, Jaleel and I are like all snuggled up pretending it's cold, and I'm like dripping. It was awful.
You know, Melissa, that reminds me actually of a little your co-star Nikki Whelan in your movie, who is a good friend of mine. Actually, I did a Christmas movie with her 2 years ago that we shot here in LA called Christmas Arrangement, which was for Lifetime, and it was so hot. She was so hot. Her and our other actress Julie McNiven. I had to take them. We were shooting in a flower shop. And I would take them into the cooler to give them notes. Like, I was like, all right, we're going into the cooler for notes. So we would go into the flower cooler for notes. And Nikki was just, and she had, you know, her extensions, and she was just like, oh my God. You know, it was
can
really,
be
really
miserable.
tough.
I don't know what's worse, like being in a bathing suit in January on a beach, or, you know, it really, it's pretty torturous. And just like Holly said, like the bundling up and the constant doing and taking it, it's like, let's just do it. Let's just get through it real quick. And I have to say, from a director's standpoint, you have to think about things a little differently when you tend to shoot these in the summer, which is freaking leaves and like seagulls. I've had seagulls, like endless seagull sounds that you can't get rid of. You know, the leaves are constantly, the tree flowers are blooming, the hydrangeas are going. So we use poinsettias to cover like plants and flowers, snow blankets, burlap sacks to try to wrap up trees. But basically you're looking for any excuse to like not shoot a tree or in the direction of a tree. One of the things we did with like Feliz Navidad took place in Arizona, so that helped, and we shot in Reno. And if you're facing the mountain, it's okay. You know, you can fake some snow up there and that kind of thing. But you know, when you're shooting in Connecticut and it's freaking July and the hydrangeas are in full bloom, you got to watch out locations. It's all about location scouting at that point.
Right. You know, let's give some help to the people out there that maybe want to make a Christmas movie. What's the secret ingredient to making a holiday movie?
I think it's set deck and snow. You know, a lot of, I think set deck and art decoration is huge. And then, you know, listen, the formula works, right? The formula works. People want to feel warm and positive and know that everything's going to end up okay and go on a journey. They want to see that. It's how you throw in little pieces of flavor and little energy that speaks to different people, I think is what makes a successful movie these days, because I think everybody's looking to see themselves represented in these movies. And mostly all of the things we talked about, casting, directing, keeping the seagulls out, the snow. These are all really, really important things. But in the end, you have to be really in love with Christmas. I mean, you really have to believe in the Christmas magic. And on Christmas in Evergreen, which is the other movie I did this season, there's a little town outside of Vancouver called Burnaby, and it's an old museum, and it has all this Christmas energy to it. And as soon as you walk on the set, you feel the Christmas magic. So you have to believe and buy into the Christmas magic. And I think that'd be my best advice.
How about you, Jake?
I think with a lot of these, sorry.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Go ahead, Jake. No, it's okay. Jake, take it.
Yeah, I agree with Holly for sure. Production design is really, really important. Creating that atmosphere, creating that Christmas atmosphere. We got and this actually also ties into your question about a secret ingredient. My first Lifetime Christmas movie that premiered in November, Very Charming Christmas Town, we shot up in Solvang here in California. And that is known for being one of the most Christmassy towns in the USA. So we kind of, in order to do that movie, we had to shoot there in December so that we could actually get all of their holiday traditions and also all their lights, which they put up just during the holiday season, up. We had to shoot in December in order to make that happen. So we actually went up there and shot last December when all the events were happening, all their Christmas events. But that was really cool and unique because it was a twist, a Danish twist on a Christmas story, and that's something that's unique that people really love to see because they haven't seen it. There's all these. I went up to Solvang before I wrote the script and met with the community director and talked to him about the traditions and all the things that they were actually doing in that town to get a feel. Scouted locations and then went back and wanted to write something that was very true to that Danish Christmas spirit. So anytime you can find a way to tell something that is a little bit unique, like that's what I also loved about Feliz Navidad. It's like that's a first, like that storyline was so cute, and these meet cutes, like the Mario Anna Lynn meet cute was adorable, and finding those ways to bring those characters together, but also finding, because the formula, we've seen the formula so many times. So
Right.
how do we take it and do we breathe a little bit of freshness and new life into it? That's something that you just have to work really hard at. That's where it gets hard, is like working so hard to what makes this story worth telling and what makes it good enough to be one of the 100 that's going to come out this year, because the competition's just getting bigger and better all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in a way they're missing. We're starting to lose a little bit of like the comedy and the conflict. I do want to bring some of that back. I kind of miss a little bit of that, and I think that the audience will start to miss that. But to Holly's point, there has to be a happy ending. Everybody has to be, when you're wrapping your gifts or you're drinking your cocoa or you're making your cookies. This is a hard time of year, whether it's COVID or not, I think, and everybody needs a happy ending right now. And so, but one of the ones I really liked that I worked on was A Very Nutty Christmas, which starred Barry Watson and as the Nutcracker, and we basically took like little hints from the actual Nutcracker ballet and created a storyline. We had Mother Ginger and all of her many foster. We had all these little hints towards the Nutcracker, but we put it into a movie. And it's funny because it doesn't have. I love the movies when it doesn't have the ending that you would expect, but it's still a happy ending. So the one I talked about before that I directed, SantaCon, which also Barry Watson, also doesn't have a happy ending in the way that you would expect. And I love when it has those twists and turns, which are hard to find and hard to dig out sometimes. But I always time ago called Holiday Dance set up for something is like, hey, handcuff a guy to your car. Take him at gunpoint into your car, tie him up with your pantyhose, and bring him to your parents and tell him he's your boyfriend. That you just don't see that much anymore. But it was a great concept.
It's funny, Melissa, you say that, and I actually, I to speak on that, because I've been watching a lot of them, and I still have time to watch, and I haven't gotten a chance to watch Christmas Doctor yet, but my mom and I are very excited to see your movie as well, Holly. It is. I've been seeing it this year in not just the Lifetime, but in some of the Hallmark movies. There's a little bit of comedy coming back. They're letting it seep back in slowly but surely, and kind of realizing that we can do. It doesn't have to be so broad that we lose the audience. It can be just that perfect of the cute quirkiness that we all just really, really love and that we really want to see, that really kind of enriches those characters. Yes, I agree. We need to see a little bit more of. So let's keep fighting for that for sure.
And I will say, Lonnie, I think the secret ingredient to all of these is heart. It's like the right amount of heart. Like you have to have that. If you have, an overabundance of Christmas decorations, as Holly said, and then some heart in the story, you're good. You're golden.
Yep.
I think that's great because I keep hearing the word formula. There's a formula to these movies, but then I also heard, like what you said, Jake, that you have to keep the stories fresh. So how are we going to keep the stories fresh, but also stay within the formula?
I think it's really just about. I think it's about. I think it's casting, it's writing. Like what I was saying before about, having these 3 Black women go to the same school, maybe not only did you go to the same school, but you pledged a sorority. Like those are little things like that. And also having people, I think casting is key, especially when it comes to, I hate the word stunt casting because it just sounds like it's corny, but it's real. Like when you bring some of these bigger stars in, like I did a movie with Patti LaBelle last Christmas called the Family Christmas Gift, and she had done one Hallmark movie, but she was really small in it, maybe 2 scenes. And I said, Miss Patti, you have to come back. You are a cultural icon, and you need to come back. And we pitched a movie. I co-executive produced that one too. We pitched with Miss Patti, and she came back and she did a bigger part and brought the culture with her. So I think that goes to what we were talking about earlier with diversity and inclusion. That's going to bring flavor. That's going to give those extra nuggets of that moment, that heartfelt moment that happens, that Melissa was talking about. Like those are the things I think you continue to be creative in your casting, in your writing. Get new writers. I mean, get writers that are out there that you don't know that have ever written a Christmas movie before, but wrote a movie that you really love. And so I think that's going to bring a different energy and different flavor to the movies at this point.
Yeah, to Holly's point, I'm working on a few movies for next year. One of them is written by, like, I can't give too. One of them is written by a college girl that I know of who comes from a pedigree of Hollywood families, but has never really done anything herself. So we're hoping to get that one going, but also have a big kind of iconic star that I'm working with that's reading the script right now that I think we're going to do a movie with next year for Lifetime. So we're trying to lock all that down and get that going by March. So just like Holly said, like it is finding these talents and finding the right project for them and bringing into people's homes someone that's familiar, that's warm and fuzzy, really.
It's good. Jake, what about you? What do you think is the formula just to keep it a little bit fresh?
I agree definitely with Holly's point. I mean, when we cast, Andy McDowell in Dashing, who I had known was an ally of the LGBTQ community already, who I'm just a huge fan of, and who she actually reminds me of my mom, and the character was kind of based on my mom loosely. She was my first choice for the role, and that really shifted the energy of that film. And seeing Andy McDowell, this icon, telling these gay men, "I love you for who you are. It doesn't define you." It speaks volumes just from a societal standpoint. It makes a huge difference. But I also think, new blood always helps. I mean, I'm a writer as well, so I'm always trying to figure out a way to stay ahead of the grain. I don't want to make anything that just feels like it's just overly trodden. So I'm always just looking for that. What's that story that fits the formula but hasn't been told yet? And they're out there. They really are out there. It's just, you put as much passion into it as you do into directing and casting and everything else, and then you get a good script and you can go with it.
And Lonnie, one thing I wanted to throw in there, and talking about the future and ideas of expanding these movies and making them more inclusive. One of the things, many of you know, that my son has autism, and I haven't really seen a great Christmas movie that is inclusive of special needs yet. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's an area that we can go into. So there are a lot of communities that have not seen themselves represented still. So I think there's a lot more that we can do. And that's immediately going to make your movie different. If you have,
yeah.
Of course, if you want to, and of course we would hire, an actor who actually had autism, and we would, do all that. I'm just pitching this, so I know my Hallmark executives are watching. So I'm just saying, I think this would be a great idea, but I think you can't go wrong when you include people who just haven't seen themselves represented in this genre yet.
Mm-hmm. I think
this year Lifetime had Lifetime had a story of a woman in a wheelchair, I believe, this year, which I think is the first time there's been a disabled lead. So that was great to see.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake, I cut you off.
Oh no, you're good. I was just going to say that, it's funny. I'm actually one of my upcoming Christmas movies for next year. Actually, two I'm going to be doing that are going to have my first interracial romances with featuring Black leads, which I'm really super excited about. And I actually have been now getting asked, what's your next LGBTQ idea? Which I honestly did not think was going to happen. I thought, well, we're going to do this movie and that's going to be it. And I'm going to get to go do my fun interracial romance Christmas movies. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, but what's your next LGBTQ movie? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess, but this is a beautiful problem to have. And it's like Holly said, there's so many untold stories. And I think a lot of it has had to do with a fear of having certain conversations. Well, guess what? This year has kind of forced us into all of those uncomfortable conversations that we have not been wanting to have about who we are as individuals and who we are as a collective. And I think that we can all kind of realize that we can get on board and have some of these really hard conversations, because I know that I've learned more about myself and my friends and like who they are and things I just didn't know because of the things that have happened this year. And let's hope that feeds over into our holiday romances as well.
I am excited, and you all are saying next year. So you're working on projects already for next year. What is like the beginning process for that? I want to know. I'm being nosy right now. So.
For me, it was we had a script that was supposed to be shot this year, but it requires a big lead, and we were waiting for a certain somebody that we hope comes on board. So we pushed that script to next year, and we did Dear Christmas this year, which was actually supposed to be next year. So we're waiting to go on that one, and then also came up. Ooh. I was in Wyoming at a dude ranch this summer. And I was on a horse, and my mom was on the horse behind me. And I turned to my mom and said, maybe we need to do a movie here. I mean, look at these mountains, look at these horses. What if I was a wrangler and the guy is the guest and I have to take him out horseback riding? It would give me a chance to learn how to horseback ride properly. And we were like, all right, let's write it. So we called up some writers, and we're writing a movie about a dude ranch.
Well, I love that your mother is your production partner. First of all, if that was my mom, she would be making a movie about an 84-year-old woman dating a 44-year-old man. And I'm like, no.
Oh, that's a great idea.
What'd you say, Lonnie?
Let Miss Dolores live, okay? Let her live.
But I love that you have to you get your inspiration however you can, right? You're in that, just in these moments where you're like, wow. And so that's part of the process, Lonnie. Like now, we're talking about this, character with autism. My production partners, Orly Adelson and Al Roker, we're already working on doing our, what is our next Christmas? We had, a family Christmas gift. And now, we have this next movie that we want to do. So you just immediately start thinking about what other stories you want to tell. And it's just a super exciting time to be pitching these movies, because as you can see by this panel, it's like the openness to diversity and inclusion is better than ever, right? People are just not pushing back on certain ideas. And so we have the opportunity to pitch stories that we would before, like 2 years ago, I can never, pitch that. They'll never go for that. So now we're seeing just the network and then the C-suites just opening up and going, okay, we want to hear your idea. That doesn't mean they greenlight them all, but at least I feel like they're more open.
At least there's hope.
You know what I can't get? You know what I can't get made? I want to get a movie made about sisters at Christmas, and I cannot seem to. I'm like, I want to get like 5, because I have a huge family. I'm the oldest of 8, and I'm like, when can I do a movie about like the 7 sisters that have, and like some are married, some have kids, and there's the one that doesn't. But I don't know. I think it's too expensive a project to get that many women on screen together.
For Christmas and Evergreen that we just shot, it was one of the first movies I'd seen for Hallmark that had 3 sisters, 2 sisters and a sister-in-law to be. And, we just looked at one point during the scene and went, wow, three Black women in this movie, and we're clinking glasses, and we're talking about things that I hadn't seen in some of the movies before. But you're right. I love the women, the women's empowerment, the togetherness of women. I think that would be a great idea. You can make it happen. Listen, I'm sitting here just writing down the names of who Melissa has worked with. She started off talking about, she went from Sid Caesar to Jaleel White. I'm like, Melissa, who haven't you worked with?
She's iconic.
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, I didn't even say this, but like when I do my casting, what I do is I go to IMDb, find the people I already know I want, and I make like a cheat sheet of all the faces, and then I kind of present that to the network. So like for the SantaCon, I was like, well, I want Barry Watson, and I want Alimi Ballard, and I want Scott Grimes, and I, like Jaleel, and like Wendy Williams came on board because Lifetime really wanted to work with Wendy, and so it was like, and then John Ratzenberger was a friend of mine that I knew lived in Connecticut while we were shooting, and I was like, let's get John Ratzenberger, and all these people kind of came together, like, you're directing, let's do it. So it's so fun to like make my wish list and see how it plays out. I did the same thing last year for Christmas Reservations. Just because I wanted to work with Ted McGinley and Marky Post again, and Ted McGinley's amazing wife, Gigi Rice, who looks like Marky Post, and they had to play sisters, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a casting dream board, right? Like a vision board.
Exactly. That's what I do.
And that's really part of this process. I mean, I have always wanted to work with Patti LaBelle. That was one of my biggest dreams. And I was able to check that box, and I was like, yes. And she sang and she acted, and it's just, everyone loves her, and being around her is just so iconic. So that was something that I wanted to do. But it's awesome to be able to work with so many people that you always have admired.
Wait, I want to ask, can I ask the panel, Lonnie, can I ask the panel a question? I want to know who you guys want to work with. Like, who's someone you've been dying to work with? Jake?
Jake?
Oh, do I have to answer first?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's going to take me a second. Oh, goodness.
Okay. Then Holly.
You go, Holly.
Okay, I love Blair Underwood is a lead that I would love to be opposite. I worked with him. Honey, you got to reach for it. You got to reach for it, right? Blair is someone, and I saw him on a Zoom call last night, so he's fresh on my brain. But he's someone I've known for 30-something years. He was in an episode of 21 Jump Street, for God's sake. So, like, I've known him forever. And then when I was looking at him on the Zoom last night, thinking about how fine he still is, I was like, wow, like, would Blair be a great number? Lonnie, do you agree or what?
Yes. And I would be a great.
I agree. Can I might, that's at the top of my list now.
Well, you are already cast.
I think you just went to the top of all our lists.
All of them are pitching you tomorrow. So,
okay,
Jake. I hadn't
cool.
thought of that one though. I love it. Yeah, Jake. Who's
Oh
yours?
my goodness! I'm trying. There's just so many. I don't.
List them off. Come on.
I'm just and now you say it, I'm just blanking. I mean, my producing partner calls me the walking IMDb, so I have literally like a 12-page. I have people like categorized like by their like style.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's crazy. So the list goes on and on. Who maybe I'll have some by the time you answer, Melissa. So who's yours?
I've always wanted to work with Donald Faison again. I went to high school with him and always had such a crush on him, and I've been like trying to track him down to be in one of these movies with me, but it hasn't quite worked out yet. So I'm really hoping Donald to come play with me at some point. And we were just old friends, so it'd be nice to. What was that, Holly? I missed it.
He would bring the comedy we were talking about for sure.
Definitely would.
Oh, totally. We'd have to do a really funny one. Yeah.
Jake, have you thought of it?
I think maybe. Yeah.
I tried to cheat just now and see if I could go to my little list, but like it's just too overwhelming. So I don't know. I would say that I got my Andy McDowell was my dream come true this year. I got to work with one of my first, my all-time faves. So it was a big deal for me. Really big deal. I'm still not over it yet, so I'm gonna be riding that train for a little bit longer. It's also an angel.
Wait, I'll throw in some Brian Austin Green and Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Yes.
I always love working with some friends of mine too. I always love bringing in my friends. Like I'd love to work with Soleil Moonfry again, or gosh, really anyone from Sabrina days. I adore all of them.
Well, Melissa, Jake, and Holly, this has been a wonderful conversation. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed it. Thank you again for your time. I'm sure you've encouraged and helped people out there that's watching. So, and good luck on next year. Thank you all for a great night. Once again, from the Television Academy, wishing everyone a healthy, happy. I haven't even been drinking yet, you guys. A happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.